Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Last Fan Standing Wrestling Podcast. This is episode number 5 with Justin and Nick. Nick, say hello.
What's up, everybody?
Oh man, we have this is the culmination of a long process here to try to get this thing going.
This has been an adventure.
An adventure and a half. And the reason that it's been an adventure is we have our very first ever guest. We've been pimping that we're going to have a guest for a long time. We finally got one on today, and it's not just a guest. It is the guest. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from YouTube and parts unknown, the masked tweeter. Tweeter, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan of the show. I'm looking forward to talking some wrestling with you.
Beautiful. And we're big fans of yours, your channel, and all your videos and everything that you've done. Why don't you pimp your social media shit before we get started, just so everybody knows where they can find you?
You know what? It's too confusing even for me. Just go to iwxshow.com, and I got all the links there for you.
Beautiful. That's iwxshow.com, Monday, April 1st. Am I right in saying that?
That's right. Monday night, April 1st. New talk show. Just go to the website. That'll fill you in with all the info.
Beautiful. The show 6 days before the second biggest show that week, because clearly the first one is the debut of IWX Show. So on this episode of Last Fan Standing, we are going to be talking about a couple of things. We're first going to start with the build towards WrestleMania thus far, a build that some people are excited for and some people seem to not be, because a lot of people are crying predictability and everything like that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to delve into TNA for the first time on this show. And we'll start by saying, Nick, I think you've missed the majority of late TNA lately.
I've missed it all.
Okay, fair enough.
It's pretty much I've been at work.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've had a life rather than just sitting home and yeah.
What are you trying to say, sir? I missed the pay-per-view on Sunday. Tweeter, you said you caught the main event, right?
I caught the main event. Somebody posted it on YouTube. I watched it this morning. And,
okay.
I didn't pay for it.
No, exactly. Well, heaven forbid. Like, I believe there's 2 wrestling pay-per-views that I'm actually willing to shell out money for, and it's Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
Exactly.
I think those are the only 2 that I'm actually willing to pay for, aside from, watching like some of the like ROH, the pay-per-views and stuff like that. But yeah, no, would never pay money at this point anyways for a TNA pay-per-view. But we'll get into that in spades later on in the show. We'll start with talking a little bit about the WrestleMania build so far. We've got, I think, 3 matches are confirmed.
3 officially.
And the 4th one, we know it's going to happen. It's just not quite confirmed yet.
Don't know what the stipulations are going to be.
And we might as well start with that one, I guess. Triple H versus Brock Lesnar. And I remember hearing a great quote about Triple H a while back. I believe it was by, I think it was Jim Cornette. And Cornette said Triple H is never the guy that makes the money. He was the guy that works with the guy that makes the money. And it's kind of an interesting thought here, because now obviously he's alongside Brock Lesnar. And think about his last couple of memorable feuds. It's Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. So it kind of rings true. Tweeter, your thoughts on both Triple H and Brock as well as this match?
Triple H is one of the guys that I think gets a bad rap a lot of the time. I think he's a throwback kind of guy. I think he could have fit well into the early 70s, 80s, 90s. He knows the business. I think that's why he's doing such a great job. I think he's doing a great job with the company. As far as a performer, I've never been a big fan of his as a performer.
Okay.
Excitement to the ring. And the best thing I ever saw Triple H do was with Undertaker at that WrestleMania, the last WrestleMania.
This last one that went by, the Hell in a Cell?
Maybe it was the first one where Shawn Michaels was the guest referee.
Yeah, no, that was the one here that just the one that just went by, the last WrestleMania, the Hell in a Cell, the end of an era match, everything. And again, I actually thought that match was kind of underrated too. It was a far cry better than the one they had the year before. And just in terms of like the actual in ring and the storytelling and everything like that. So yeah, I'm with you on that one for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think he's more suited behind the scenes at this point in his career. There's no taking away what he's accomplished with DX, even going back as far as Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Right.
You can't deny his accomplishments. But I think at this point in his career, he's much well suited to be backstage.
Most absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So of course the kind of the build towards this, anyways. Lesnar, of course, famously broke Triple H's arm, broke Triple H's arm, I think, twice in the span of a month, or something like that. It was once on Raw and then once in a match. Lesnar came back to Raw as Vince was about to fire Heyman, and this was, of course, months and months and months after, and actually got a huge response. And that's the one thing that anybody that detracts from Brock Lesnar, and I'm one of them. I've detracted from him plenty in the past. Anybody that detracts from Brock Lesnar, you can't deny the pop that he gives when he comes back. And I mean, that's a product of being gone for so long. But when he comes back, whether he's supposed to be a heel, which I guess is supposed to what he's supposed to be, or he's a fan favorite, he gets just a huge. The building just explodes.
Loves him.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Don't know why.
Well, Nick's clearly one of those guys, I guess, that is not a huge Lesnar fan. Fair enough. So he returns to Raw when Vince is about to fire Heyman, hits McMahon with the F5, breaks his hip.
Or supposedly breaks.
Supposedly, but it's quote unquote
a mellow break.
A mellow. What's a mellow break, sir?
Oh no, a sprain break.
Break like the tragically hip. All right, fair. The tragically hip, bump. I didn't even intend to do that. So Triple H re-debuts because Brock comes out when McMahon's going to fire Heyman. This is what happened a couple of weeks ago, or not fire him, fight him. And Brock comes back out, and then Triple H comes back out with his stupid. What do you think of the haircut?
The thing with Triple H's hair is it goes back to it suits him perfectly right now. I'll always remember Triple H as the long-haired Goldilocks of wrestling. But for right now, it fits him. It fits the role. He's a suit, corporate. I'm okay with it.
Fair enough. I know it was a huge Twitter. It was one of those things that made Twitter just blow up when the first picture was tweeted of him with his haircut. Everybody was just like, who attacked him with the lawnmower or whatever it was, because nobody was used to seeing it, right? But yeah, I guess with the corporate suit and stuff like that, I guess it probably works.
It kind of suits.
I think,
just don't like it.
Yeah.
I think it'll suit him well when Brock busts his head open. I think it'll look a lot better.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, Trips has already done it to Brock once, so it would make sense that Brock gets the payback. You think Brock goes over at Mania?
I think so. I mean, I think that was so gruesome that going back to that head injury. The rumor I'm hearing is that one of the stipulations, it's going to be MMA rules, and I'm real curious to see how they pull that off.
Wow.
What, like 3 stages of hell?
No, like
but
when he's talking like stiff, like sort of playing it off like it's like actual punches and kicks and actual submissions and stuff like that, which would be really interesting because you wouldn't picture Trips in that role. But that actually would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, you kind of wonder if they're even allowed to use the term MMA. I don't know if that's going to be kind of interesting to see how they play that off, if that's where they're going with it.
Right, fair enough. I can imagine they try to market an MMA fight. Dana White gets on Twitter and he's just like, "Fucking Vince McMahon," and blah, blah, blah,
right,
blah.
right.
Jeez. All right, fair enough. Nick, any other thoughts on this one before we move on to Taker and Punk?
Not really.
No, fair enough.
Don't like Brock.
Just don't like Brock. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Brock's one of those polarizing kind of figures where I guess if you consider yourself a purist as either an MMA fan or a professional wrestling fan, Brock's probably not the guy that you like. But it's kind of an interesting balance there. But let's move on to Undertaker versus CM Punk, the Streak versus the Straight Edge. I personally, I've really liked the build for this. It kind of makes
for this was awesome.
Yeah, it makes it makes it seem like it's more it's more than just like one person's, I don't want to say petty, but like it's more than like one person's grudge sort of strictly against The Undertaker, because the two matches with Triple H, certainly as good as the most recent one was, just kind of felt like it was just like, Triple H with a grudge and he wants to beat the streak. And then even the second match with HBK was just kind of like, it's the grudge and he wants to beat the streak. Whereas Punk, like, Punk actually had to earn this opportunity to beat the streak by, of course, winning that fatal 4-way match. Undertaker returned on March the 4th, sort of beginning of old school Raw, gave his open challenge.
Well, he didn't really return on that day.
True.
He
he
returned on
showed
the live
up.
show.
Yeah. Actually, that's true.
On Roadshow, yeah.
And actually, that's kind of interesting, and that's something that I actually want to ask Tweeter about. What did you think of that? Did you we're talking about like Undertaker returning at a house show, and then WWE intentionally tweeting out that yes, he had returned on a house show. What did you think about that?
I definitely think that with the incorporation of social media, it's really taken away some of the surprise element in wrestling, because nothing can be kept a secret or a surprise anymore.
Right.
Having said that, the man's been off for so long. I'm sure he had to get in the ring somewhere. Just to loosen up before going on live TV. I don't know exactly what he did at the house show, but Undertaker's Undertaker. He's going to sit on the couch for a year. He's going to show up and get paid.
Yeah,
and the crowd's going to pop for him. He's a big draw,
and he's going to get paid very, very well, I would imagine.
Oh yeah,
it's more for sort of one night's work than maybe people would like to imagine. But so he shows up on that house show. I think it was a tag match that he was in on the house show. I don't even know whether he actually got in the ring or not. But so he showed up for that. Then he was on Old School Raw, gave sort of his open challenge. Vicky Guerrero made the fatal 4-way between Punk, Sheamus, Orton, and Big Show, which CM Punk ended up winning that fatal 4-way. And then now, this is going to sound so terrible of me, but like, is it some kind of like poetic irony or whatever that Paul Bearer passes away, which, by the way, of course, rest in peace,
yes.
Mr. Moody. But like, is it some kind of poetic irony that Paul Bearer passes away as Undertaker, as like they're on the road to Undertaker defending the streak again and everything like that? Is it kind of...
it is ironic.
It almost, if we didn't know any better, it would almost feel like a work. You know what I mean? Like
right.
it's...
Yeah, I think it's. I hate to say it because it sounds morbid, and I'm a big fan of what Percy Pringle did, but it's the best thing that could have happened for this match, because I wasn't that interested. Now with the whole CM Punk taking the urn last night, it just adds a whole another angle to it, a whole nother dimension.
Oh my God, no question about it. And I would venture to say, and I could be wrong in saying this, I think Punk would have been the only person on the roster, face or heel, with the sack to do that. Even if it was presented to anybody else on the roster that, like, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to incorporate the death of this person that literally just happened.
Yeah.
And we're going to incorporate this into your run. And I can see so many people in the back not being comfortable with that.
It was just like me when I saw it happen. I'm like,
yeah, and that's got to be the way that most people thought. But like, I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm just like, oh my God, he's such a heel.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget he did the same thing when Jerry Lawler came back.
Yeah,
I had the same kind of feeling, like, wow, he just interrupted this moment. I mean, and then the other side of me is like, this guy's fucking brilliant. You know, it's just,
exactly.
I loved it. You know,
I
love it to hate it.
Yeah. Well, and you did. I mean, you did the video about that, and you went into the whole thing for like 4 or 5 minutes about how reprehensible it was, and then you turned around and you went, "But I loved it." And this
right.
is, you know,
that's wrestling, man. And
exactly.
One of the things I learned about Paul Bearer recently, I went back and on iTunes, PW Torch does a great interview with him.
Oh yes,
from December of 2012. Mm-hmm. He loved the business so much. I think he really would be getting a kick out of what's happening right now, because he was a fan more than a performer. You know, he loved the sport. And I think he just really would have dug what was going on last night.
Oh, absolutely. Because it wasn't at no point, like, it wasn't like Punk looked up at the picture of Paul Bearer that was on the Titantron, and he wasn't like, pour sugar in your gas tank and fuck your grandfather. Like he wasn't speaking ill of the dead. Like the only real mention that he made of him was just like, to Paul Bearer, you'll always be perfect. And it's like, oh my God, it's just such a great, and like I said, there's so few guys on the roster that you would trust to be able to do that. And it feels to me like it's just getting phenomenal.
It was at that point, as Raw went off the air last night, where I said, okay, I think I'll probably end up buying WrestleMania because I'm just curious how that angle is going to end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No question.
I really didn't care. We all knew Punk was going to face The Undertaker, and I like the fact that they didn't just hand it to him. The 4-way was a great idea.
Yes.
But now it just takes on a whole new dimension. I'm curious to see how they, finish it off.
Do you have an early prediction for that one?
There's no way. I think, one, I don't think we've seen the last of Paul Bearer. Two, I think Taker wins it with help from the urn.
Really? Wow. All right.
Got to bring him back for WrestleMania 30. Come on, guys.
Like that. There's I can't remember if it's Tracy Lawrence or Toby Keith or one of those retarded T-name country artists did a song called "Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox Before I Die," where he talks about like just when I die, just stuff me and prop me up beside the jukebox. I can just imagine WrestleMania 30. They just stuff Paul Bearer and just wheel him out to the ring and. Just so he can be there with Taker one more time. Since that was fucking morbid, we'll move on. Exactly. That's the kind of that almost dipped into the No Holds Barred podcast right there. Which, by the way, I can't wait to have you on No Holds Barred because that'll just be a show. We could charge admission for that one.
That's slowly becoming one of my favorite podcasts of all time.
Is it? Nice. I love it. World Heavyweight Championship. We have Alberto Del Rio, which is the champion, of course, with Ricardo Rodriguez, taking on Jack Swagger with Dutch Mantell, Zeb Coulter. Build for this one, of course. Del Rio beats Big Show on SmackDown in January to win the title in the Last Man Standing. Retains the title against Big Show twice. In another Last Man Standing match, and then just a regular singles match for some reason.
Yeah.
So
no sense.
Yeah. So that feud was effectively over, and now it even looks like Big Show's becoming a face. He almost looks like he's taking a babyface turn again. But I mean, with so many guys on the roster, how can you fucking tell who's who?
He can't do the main thing.
It
doesn't work with him.
I don't think people believe it. There are ways that they could do it, but they're not willing to go to the lengths that they would need to go to in order to make Big Show a heel, like a real solid heel. Anyways, that's
Justin. Excuse me one moment.
Sure.
You do movie reviews, right?
I do movie reviews. Yes.
What did you think of Knucklehead?
Knucklehead, I actually did not see.
Exactly.
You knew that was coming, didn't you? You knew that answer was coming right down fucking Main Street.
Nothing that the Big Show seems to try works out for the poor guy.
No.
I don't know what's left for him to do.
You know what I would really like to see? I'd like to see him rematch Floyd Mayweather. And that's not even a joke. I would honestly love to see Floyd Mayweather come back and they have the Floyd Mayweather versus the Big Show rematch where Big Show just squashes him and like
really
they'd have to wait until Mayweather's boxing career is over because the man has such a massive fucking ego that he could never let that happen while his boxing career is still going on. But after he's retired from boxing, fuck him, bring him back.
Yeah,
have the rematch. Just be like, I sent him a tweet a couple months back, and it was talking about he was gearing up for a rematch or something with somebody that he had already fought and beaten in like 3 rounds or something. And I was like, well, screw this rematch. He's been ducking his rematch with the Big Show for years, and it got like 20 retweets. So, so who knows? Maybe people want to see it. But yeah, no, that's an excellent point about Show, and I don't know. I don't know the last time the man was relevant. Maybe when he choke slammed. Was it Kane that he choke slammed through the ring the first time, like way back in the 2000s or something? Didn't he choke slam Kane through the ring or something? And that was pretty well the last time that he was kind of sort of relevant.
I can't even remember what I did last week. Man.
Okay, fair enough. Makes sense. So, in any case, so the Del Rio Big Show rivalry is over and done with.
Yeah.
So we have Jack Swagger re-debuts with Zeb Coulter as manager, which again, by the way, as we mentioned, the theme song, fantastic.
Love it.
It's put together really, really well. And they cut the first couple of promos that Zeb Coulter cuts on behalf of Swagger. Really, really, really good. I mean, so good that it got Glenn Beck all pissed off, and that was 40 minutes of one of our podcast episodes was just me ripping the shit out of Glenn Beck. So I mean, I guess if it gets Glenn Beck talking, it's good enough because Glenn Beck becomes an easy target, and then you get to just kind of jack off about wrestling a little bit. And this is one of these ones with just kind of a built-in rivalry. You know what I mean? Like you got all the things that Coulter and Swagger have been saying about immigration and people that aren't American being in America, and then you turn around and you have Del Rio, who's just like, "Hi, I'm Mexican and I'm in America."
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's kind of
I was born in Mexico, but I was made
in America. That was actually a really good line, and it's just kind of a built-in rivalry, I guess. Tweeter, what do you think about this match?
Both guys, tremendous talent. I don't really know who I want to win this match. I don't think it matters because at the end of the day, I think Dolph somehow plays into this and cashes in Money in the Bank.
I think you would almost have to, doesn't the? Well, in storyline anyway, doesn't the case expire a year after he wins it? So like he won it last year, so wouldn't it technically like expire by WrestleMania or something like that?
That's a good point.
So I mean, like if he doesn't do it, then. And this is where people start talking about the whole quote unquote predictability of WrestleMania this year. It's like, well, we know Ziggler's going to cash it in because he has to, or else he doesn't get to, and da 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 da. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to win it. But I mean, we on a previous episode of this podcast went through and did a whole quote unquote Justin Books It, where I talked about how I would have loved to have seen them go the route where Ziggler could have won both titles.
Oh, that would be classic,
right? Like I would have loved to have seen him, because then you'd have a built-in rivalry, another rivalry with Jericho, because Jericho was the first ever undisputed champion, and now Ziggler can just be like, well, look at this, now I'm the undisputed champion. You have a built-in rivalry there, and it's something that I thought they could have gone on for a little while. I mean, clearly it doesn't look like they're going to do it that way, but fair enough. One thing I really liked last night watching Raw. Swagger and Del Rio were kind of getting into it, and Swagger, this was pure MMA. I can only imagine that like Dana White was watching this and being like, you might as well just look at the camera and scream, "We're doing mixed martial arts," because Swagger goes in and he does basically a double leg takedown, and he's in Del Rio's guard, basically, which in MMA is like when both guys are on the ground, one guy's got his legs, the guy on the bottom's got his legs up around him. He's basically in his guard, and he's punching him there from the guard or whatever. And then Del Rio flips his legs up and goes for the armbar. And I'm sitting there watching TV, and I was just like, Del Rio's got jujitsu. Like it's just like, right. I almost felt like I was watching UFC for 2 seconds until I saw fucking Zeb Coulter in his gut. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't UFC. I think it'll be an interesting match. Nick, are you interested at all in this match, or you like the build, or what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I like the build. I mean, at first I wasn't really fond of like Zeb Coulter with Jack Swagger, the whole "we the people" thing.
Okay,
but I mean, I've started to like it. I like the parodies that.
The parody was really funny.
Yeah.
Tweeter, did you see the parody that Del Rio and Ricardo did?
I did. I think anything Ricardo Rodriguez does is golden.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Actually, there's other parodies on YouTube, and I like what they're doing. I think he's going to walk away with the title if Dolph stays out of this. I think he could actually walk away with the title. And we could see a really nice feud continue between those two, back and forth.
Yeah, fair enough. I remember a little while back watching it was something was going on. For whatever reason, Ricardo was in the ring, and he started actually doing wrestling moves, and most of WWE's fan base doesn't know how good a wrestler Ricardo Rodriguez actually is. He's actually a pretty decent performer, and I'm sitting there on Twitter, and I was tweeting about Raw, and I was like, damn it, Ricardo, you're not supposed to let on that you know how to wrestle yet. Because like the fans aren't ready for this.
Wasn't he wrestling the Big Show?
I don't think it was actually that match. I think it was something else.
Okay, because he actually had a wrestling match.
Yeah, he did.
He wrestled.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
He
but
knows
it's just
his
like
shit.
he was actually letting on that he knows how to wrestle, and I didn't think the audience was ready for that yet. So that only leaves us with the other match so far that's been announced on the card, which is, of course, the WWE Championship match, twice in a lifetime, greatness versus redemption, once in a while, whatever you want to call it. The Rock defending the new WWE title versus John Cena. First of all, Tweeter, what do you think of the new belt?
I like it. I don't like the spinner belt. I can live with it. I'm not I like it, but that's like saying I'd prefer to drink gasoline than acid. It's like,
right.
I don't know. It's better than the last one, but that ain't saying much.
Well, yeah, fair enough. You might have caught Nick laugh there. It was only because like when I asked you the question, there was a little delay, and both of us got right scared that we had lost you again. then you started talking, and then we were all set. Yeah, the belts. Like it's better than the bling bling belt. It's modern, but it's not the thugged out belt anymore, which I never really liked. And I thought the only person that did something decent with it aside from Cena was Edge when he changed the spinner to the rated R superstar one.
Yeah.
That actually kind of looked not quite as bad.
I'm biased to the Alberto Del Rio's world title. I mean, that's the belt to me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the big gold belt, absolutely. And that's that's the one that I bought actually off WWE.com. I bought the WCW era one, so it doesn't have the big stupid WWE logo at the top of it. And it's just like, that to me has always been the belt, because you're talking, NWA champions and stuff. So I mean that one to me has always been the belt as well.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Where do you guys stand on unifying this title eventually?
Sorry, what?
I was going to say, do we need the WWE title and the world title? I'd much rather see a unified title.
I'm right with you on that one. I would much rather see. Well, first of all, I would much rather them just put the friggin' shows back together.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like having this. The brand extension was cute for a little while when it was actually like played up like it was a rivalry between the two brands, but it's not that
GMs
anymore.
That feuded back and forth.
Exactly.
I mean, that was great. But
It's not.
You don't have it anymore.
No.
You have like the VP GM or the acting GM,
whatever.
Which, god damn it, Reagan. What's his name?
Maddox?
Maddox.
You know what, man?
His delivery of that, I'm going to make a match. And I'm not going to tell you what it is for the next 20 minutes.
I wanted to kick my TV last night, man.
But to be perfectly honest, I've turned around so much on Brad Maddox just for one simple reason. Tweeter, have you ever seen the movie The Room?
No, I haven't.
No? Look it up on I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix or whatever. It's Tommy Wiseau, and he acts in it, directs it, produces it, wrote it. It's one of these like personal pictures or whatever. And it's one of those movies that's got to be considered like one of the 10 worst movies of all time. But it's gotten to the point where it's so bad and it's so terrible that it's actually awesome.
Oh, I love those.
And I'm kind of starting to feel that way about Brad Maddox, because every time I see him, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is so terrible. But then when his segment is over, I'm just like, I want to see more of that. Yeah. I don't know why, but I want to see more of it. So
I've always been a fan of his until last night. I was like, oh, he's choking so bad. Someone put him out of his misery, man. I was embarrassed.
Well, when you get Cole and King that seem like they're actually breaking character on commentary, and they're just like
Yeah.
they're laughing like they used to laugh at Chimmel. Like, I mean, it's
Right.
just like, oh my God, somebody get him out of there. And I'm sitting there just like, this is a train wreck, but I can't stop watching, and I actually enjoy it. So, but yeah, last night was kind of bad. But we always like to imitate his Bane voice when he was talking about the Shield, like the Shield of Justice. He sounded like Bane from Dark Knight Rises. It was just kind of weird.
Completely. Perfect.
But no, as far as actually combining the two titles, absolutely. I think you get rid of any remnants of the brand extension whatsoever anymore, and you unify the titles. I absolutely think you do that. You don't lose the lineage of either title, because if you inevitably end up separating them again, you just go back to the lineages, and they just have that common lineage for a little while, like they did the last time. So, I mean, you don't lose the lineage of either title. If you ever do split them again, it's a big thing. It's like, oh, we get to see the belt again. I absolutely think they should have an undisputed champ who's on both shows every week. So you'd need somebody like a Dolph Ziggler. You'd need somebody that is able to pull double duty on television every week. And,
most definitely.
You know, you can't have The Rock as the undisputed champion, because he's not going to be there every week. And so, I mean,
he's hardly there any week.
I know he's only there 50-50.
He comes out and he talks and does his rock shows and tells stories.
Yeah, tells stories about stealing cars in Miami or wherever it was they were. So again, you got John Cena versus The Rock again, second year in a row that we're going to see this match. The
John
build.
Cena's going to win.
Well, I think
I
so.
hate to say it, but that's
I agree.
the only option.
I don't think. I don't see any option where Rock retains the title.
He's
I really
not going
don't
to stick around.
Well, exactly, because
He's going to go and make movies and make more money, apparently, than what he can make in WWE.
Well, yeah, maybe, but yeah. So I don't think there's any sort of argument between virtually anybody that Cena's going to win the title again. So of course we have Rock beat CM Punk twice at Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber to win and retain the title. Cena wins the Royal Rumble, which we were not happy about whatsoever.
I almost walked out.
You did. That upset you, and the problem was it was midway through the show,
Yeah.
so it was just like, wow, you're going to miss the second half of this pay-per-view, sir. So Cena wins the Rumble, beats CM Punk to hold on to his guaranteed title match, and the build to this is kind of interesting, because in a way it feels like the exact same, but then when you watched a couple of promos that they put on last night, it was almost like they were incorporating like Cena's divorce, and they were incorporating other things into this build. Just being like, look, the last year of my life has sucked because I didn't beat you at WrestleMania last year. So that's kind of the whole redemption thing. So the build is, I find, slightly better than last year's, because last year there wasn't really much of a build. There was like the night after 2 WrestleManias ago, they were just like, hey, I'm going to fight you at WrestleMania. And he was like, yeah, all right. And then a year later, they wrestled, and that felt like it was all of the build. Tweeter, what have you thought about this build so far?
Not really feeling it this time around. I mean, I've just been so disappointed in The Rock whenever he's been in the ring as far as his cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to have Cena not win, and Rock will disappear, like you said, and he'll show up, September or August of next year and start building for his WrestleMania 30th appearance.
Right. Fair
I think
enough.
he goes away for a while.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably almost a certainty that he'll vanish for a little while.
Yeah.
But I mean, to answer your question, the build-up, I don't see it really going anywhere new. I don't see anything different. I know that what you're talking about with the divorce, but it's not inspiring me to buy the pay-per-view. That's for sure. Like, they got to really pull something out of their ass this time for me to be interested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to see them, like, they still have time, if they wanted to heat it up to the point where you could toss a stipulation in there, where you could toss in something to make the match more interesting than just like, well, by the way, we're going to have another singles match, which is just the same thing that they did last year. So there is still time to maybe do that. I don't know if I trust creative quite enough to do that, but at the very least, there's still a little bit of time.
Yeah, or heel. Let The Rock turn heel. It'll never happen. Let him go vicious on it. Turn heel before the match.
I would be really interested in that, actually.
That would be interesting.
Or even like use Rock as a vehicle after the match. Not literally. I saw the look on Nick's face there. It was just like
what?
As a vehicle. No, but like use him as a vehicle the next night on Raw for Cena to turn heel. And I know Cena turning heel is like the professional wrestling Sasquatch. Like people think they see little parts of it, but it's never. It's always blurry.
So long for Cena to go heel.
Exactly. So I mean, it's probably at the point now where it's never going to happen, but.
Not until those merchandise sales dip.
Yeah, fair enough. Once people stop buying the multicolored wristbands and shit, then maybe they can do it. But yeah, that's a good point. So we're at the point in the broadcast now where Barbara Walters will come on, and we're going to talk a little bit about TNA. So again, this is the first time that we've spoken about TNA on. Hey,
hang on.
Oh,
I don't want to throw a fly in the ointment. Are you?
There's so many flies in the ointment already. Don't worry about it, sir.
Let me throw this out there, and I know we're short on time, so maybe just a one-word answer, because we see this match being set up. Ryback and Mark Henry, we know that's going to happen at WrestleMania.
Right.
Just real quick, let's go around the table. What do you think of that one?
We'll let Nick start with this one. Ryback versus Mark Henry.
Ryback, I like Ryback as a wrestler. Mark Henry, I'm not too fond of, so I have to say Ryback. Although he has been losing a lot, mainly to the Shield.
Right.
But the Shield is new, and I understand that they want to play them up. And I mean, of course, the Shield can't lose. What was I gonna say?
Shield can't lose on pay-per-view, or Shield
on
can't...
pay-per-view. Yeah, and somebody like Sheamus or Cena, they can't win against. So. What I'm trying to say is, in the end, I like the match, and Ryback's going to win it.
Nick had a little brain aneurysm there. We're all good. Ryback and Mark Henry. I don't dislike Ryback by any means. I thought it was a mistake to end the unbeaten streak when they did, because now they've kind of Brodus Clayed him, but at the same time, kept. Like, he's still relevant, but he's still kind of going sort of almost the Brodus Clay kind of route. That after he lost his first match, now he's lost a bunch more.
They've humanized the monster.
Yes,
they have humanized the monster.
Exactly. As far as Ryback and Mark Henry goes, I actually think I might have to go Henry as long as his fucking knees hold up until Mania. But I've kind of always liked Mark Henry, and I've always been actually kind of interesting. Speaking of Brodus Clay, that was originally supposed to be Mark Henry's gimmick.
Really?
Yeah.
What was
it? Mark Henry came up with the Brodus Clay, the Funkasaurus gimmick, and that was originally going to be his. But then he got injured, and Vince went to him and said, "We really like this gimmick. We'd like to give it to Brodus." And so Mark Henry gave him the okay on it. But that was originally supposed to be Mark Henry's gimmick.
So he stayed the House of Pain.
So luckily he got injured and stayed the House of Pain and didn't piss off Mauro Ranallo. Mauro Ranallo hates that gimmick. But I would be interested in seeing the match. I would be kind of afraid that it would end up being one of these matches like Big John Studd against Hercules. You know what I mean? Like, you put two powerhouses in there, and it doesn't necessarily equate to the best matches. You know what I mean? But
true.
I'd like to see Mark Henry go over there, because I think Ryback would be a nice mantelpiece in the House of Pain, or the House of Pain, Hall of Pain. House of Pain's a terrible TV show. Hall of Pain would be a nice mantelpiece to have. Would be Ryback's head. So I'd actually like to see Mark Henry go over in that. What do you think, Twitter?
I agree. I think that the push Mark Henry's about to get following WrestleMania is going to be extraordinary. I think they're really going to push him to be this unbeatable monster, and I think it starts with him destroying Ryback at WrestleMania.
Wow. Right on. Anything else that we can think of that might be coming on the horizon for WrestleMania? What do you think the Shield does for Mania?
I'm sure they're going to be somewhere. Just us talking about Ryback and Mark Henry. I mean, I can see the Shield showing up in that match, just because they had a little bit of rivalry with Ryback. So,
okay.
I mean, you can see them showing up there.
Right.
Of course, there's going to be a Divas match somewhere in the card.
Well, that's
because everybody needs a bathroom break.
Exactly. We got to take our poop. We got to take our poop break at some point.
So maybe they can show up.
Maybe. Oh my God! How amazing would that be? Like fatal 4-way match for the Divas Championship. They're about 2 minutes in. Remember, it's only a 3-minute runtime, but they're about 2 minutes into the match, and then all of a sudden, Shield's music.
Maybe they can throw an old school like chick through a table.
Chick through a table, yeah. Well, you know, if they want to rewind it a little bit,
I mean,
it would be excellent.
Hell, I would buy every pay-per-view.
Buy every pay-per-view that year just because they put a chick through a table. You're a bit of a masochist, aren't you, Stevenson?
I mean, the rumor I'm hearing is WWE Creative is pulling their hair out trying to finish this card off.
Yeah.
And when you really think about the players they have left, Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus, Team Hell No, you can already start to see Kane starting to get away from that Hell No thing. I think he's going to really go mad soon. Where does that leave Daniel Bryan and the Shield? Somehow there would be a really good match if we could get a couple other tag team partners for Daniel Bryan there.
For sure. It almost felt like they were teasing Randy Orton, Sheamus, and Big Show against the Shield in a 6-man tag at Mania. It kind of felt for a couple of weeks there like maybe they were teasing that, but it's just like, how many times are you going to give us a variation on the same match? You know what I mean? Like we're talking about, it started with, what was their first 6-man tag was Ryback and Team Hell No, right?
Yeah. And then it went Ryback,
went to,
Sheamus and Cena.
Yeah, Cena and the Super Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And then they had a Jericho, Sheamus, and Orton or something like that, or Sheamus and Ryback rather.
Just so many variations.
Yeah,
of
it's
the exact same match.
Exactly.
Antonio Cesaro's still floating around out there. We don't know what he's doing.
Wade Barrett,
Intercontinental time. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do?
It's it's a little worrisome, the fact that we're 4 weeks out of Mania at this point, 4 weeks out, and we have 4 matches for a 4-hour card.
Yeah.
You know what? John Laurinaitis comes back. John Laurinaitis is Nick Stevenson's favorite wrestler, and he's going to come back.
If he comes back, I'll fly to the WWE headquarters.
Harry quarters?
Yes, headquarters.
Okay. Right on.
And I'll give him a piece of my mind.
By piece of his mind, he means the grill of his car through the first floor window.
I'll stand outside with blowhorn. I'll find a tank and hire DX.
Just stand out in the parking lot with one of those vuvuzelas from the World Cup. Nobody get anything done. Cool. We're ready to roll to TNA?
Ready to roll.
All right. Beautiful. All right. So we thought, since, like we say, sort of very first discussion of TNA, it would probably be a decent idea to list off the champions, just in case nobody watches TNA like Nick. And
I'm trying.
I know you're trying.
You
for sure.
just got me into it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I didn't know what it was.
I knew there was something, but.
Yeah.
So current champions right now in TNA, we have Bully Ray as the TNA heavyweight champion. Just won that belt from Jeff Hardy Sunday night at the Lockdown pay-per-view. Devon as the TNA television champion. Austin Aries and Bobby Roode currently hold the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Kenny King just recently beat Rob Van Dam for the X Division Championship. Velvet Sky is the TNA Women's Distraction 3-minute match champion, otherwise known as the Knockouts champion. And you have Eric Young and ODB. ODB, of course, standing for Old Dirty Bitch, literally, as the TNA Knockouts tag team champions. That's supposed to be an all-female tag team division. Eric Young is, in fact, a male. Supposedly. So you can see right off the bat, TNA's good at booking, if nothing else. And of course, the major sort of storyline that's been going on with TNA in the last little while has been the Aces and Eights. Tweeter, your general thoughts about Aces and Eights from what you have seen?
Well, one, I think they drew it out a little too long. Mm-hmm. I think they had something really going. There was a strong internet buzz. I think they've been a fountain of disappointment. When you start revealing guys like D'Lo Brown, I'm like, really, guys? You have something really special going on here, and you pull back the curtain to see D'Lo Brown, and to me, they dropped the ball with that angle.
What are you talking about?
Which is notorious.
D'Lo Brown, you're looking.
Sorry?
D'Lo Brown, you're looking at the real deal now. Sorry, that was.
You got a point.
But no,
I take it all back. It's the greatest angle ever in professional wrestling.
It's fantastic.
I know. I think synonymous with TNA, they have clever ideas, but I think that's as far as it goes. They never have a good finisher.
Right.
They have good ideas, but they always drop the ball. That's my perception of it.
Yeah, fair enough. I remember one thing that I remember tweeting about TNA was that it was after watching an episode of Impact, and it was the episode of Impact where Hulk Hogan came out right at the beginning of the episode and said, we're going to have 4 number 1 contenders matches for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship on this show. We're going to have 4, I'll just repeat this, number 1 contenders matches on this show. And at the end of the night, I'm going to choose one of the 4 winners to be the number 1 contender. Well, what the sweet fuck is the point of having the 4 matches? Why don't you just pick somebody?
Yeah.
Makes no sense at all.
Exactly. And then they went and they proceeded to have 4 kick-ass number 1 contenders matches. They were actually really, really good. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be all right. And then the end of the night comes, Hulk Hogan comes out and he's like, we had some great matches, brother, and had his prerequisite 4 minutes in the spotlight before he then went and the TNA number 1 contender for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship is. And then Aces and Eights comes out and interrupts the whole thing. And then I think Kurt Angle and a couple people came out. Aces and Eights runs away and we don't find out who the number 1 contender is. And I'm just thinking to myself, and the tweet that I sent out was, like the worst sexual experience you ever had, the last 2 hours of foreplay ended in disappointment. Like, it just, you teased this for 2 hours and then gave us nothing. And you didn't even give us nothing in a good way. Like, you gave us nothing in the cheap fucking cop-out way. And that's just like the whole microcosm of TNA to me. So it's kind of basically the exact same thing that you said, but yeah, fair enough. For those of us that don't happen to know who Aces and Eights is, it's a masked and unmasked stable, first formed in June 2012. It follows a biker gang gimmick, which is kind of interesting because we haven't really seen that since like Disciples of Apocalypse back in WWFE, whatever.
Right.
So it's a biker gang gimmick that, yeah, started fairly well because they attacked Sting and Hogan was their first 2 targets. When Sting was inducted into the prestigious TNA Hall of Fame. And so they attacked the 2 of them, and they don't really seem to have a set sort of idea of who they attack. Like, they attack faces, they attack heels, and in that way it's kind of like the Shield. They don't discriminate against who they attack, per se.
It's like they were sitting around and said, hey, Sons of Anarchy is really big right now. Let's put together a biker thing. And then they did that, but then they didn't know where to go from there.
It's like they only wrote 2 weeks of TV, and then they went, oh shit, people actually watched it, people actually liked it. What do we do now?
Right.
Yeah. And
something finally went over. We don't know how to react to this.
Exactly. No, they know exactly how to react to it. Fill it with a bunch of ex-WWE talent. That's the way that they handle these things. Let's take a look at the roster of Aces and Eights. We have Devon, who is the leader of Aces and Eights. We have the Director of Chaos, which is Drew Hankinson. And if you don't know who Drew Hankinson is, he was Luke Gallows in WWE or Festus in WWE. You know, the guy that came out and he was like until the bell rang, and then he was Ryback basically.
Yeah, the great Luke Gallows, personal friend of mine, great guy, hell of an entertainer.
Absolutely great. Never really got a fair shake in WWE aside from the Straight Edge Society, which they just didn't do well with after the first little while. Like, Straight Edge Society was going great, and then they just kind of pooped on it and took it away.
I would love that came back.
Absolutely. The Straight Edge Society I thought was fantastic. They just didn't go very far with it. But Luke Gallows himself is an excellent talent. Ken Anderson, again, another released. So far we've got 4. I've listed 4, and there's 4 that used to be in WWE. Mike Knox, there's 5. Taz as the heel announcer. Tweeter, what do you think about the Taz as being like the heel announcer and always being on the announce team and always just kind of tilting things towards the Aces and Eight thing? Does that work for you?
No, a lot of people love Taz for reasons I don't understand. I just wish, and I'm not a religious guy, but if there is a God, I wish God would just drop a piano on this man's head.
Well,
I'm so sick of Taz.
Well, he can't get any shorter.
I mean, that ain't gonna help. Taz is ridiculous, man. I mean, they're milking a corp. Don't even get me started. They're milking a dead cow with Taz.
Absolutely,
he's got nothing left.
There's a little bit of blood in the milk too. It's just not good milk, right? But they just keep doing it. And I guess a lot of that just falls back on the ECW nostalgia, because basically, you could argue Taz was ECW in a lot of ways, but
absolutely,
but yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. I wouldn't mind seeing Taz in some other role, but I don't think he's a good announcer to begin with when he doesn't have. Right. When he doesn't have the insulation of a Michael Cole or a Jim Ross or even a Jerry Lawler, like, that's insulation for him. Who does he?
would go together perfectly.
Yeah, but who does he work with on the TNA announce team? He works with Mike Tenay. No disrespect to Mike Tenay, but he's not Jim Ross.
I'll disrespect Mike Tenay. I think he's horrible as well. I think the entire announcing. I think that. It's one of the major problems with TNA. I can't sit through a match with that announce team. No, I don't like Mike Tenay either. I disrespect him as much as possible.
It is tough. I sometimes like to put the show on mute and do my own commentary, but they haven't hired me yet, anyways. Garrett Bischoff, which if there was anything we needed in wrestling, it was another Bischoff. And Garrett, I believe, is the only person on this list that has never been in WWE. Because the next guy, Wes Briscoe, did sign a developmental contract and was in FCW for a little while. So Wes Briscoe was in FCW for a little bit. So he's, again, former WWE basically talent. D'Lo Brown, obviously looking at the real deal now. Waggle your head on the top rope.
Oh yeah.
And now Bully Ray. And again, we can kind of talk about this. I'd like to give you the platform here, Tweeter, to kind of go off on the whole. Everybody, TNA fans seem to talk about, like, oh my gosh, Bully Ray's part of Aces and Eights. Who saw that coming?
Well, I'll tell you who saw that coming. Your host, Justin, called it back. What was it, last August?
Yeah, August 17th, I tweeted about it.
This man said Bully Ray was part of Aces and Eights. And the more you start watching, you're like, that Justin fellow's onto something here. I don't think it was a surprise to anybody. And I think people are just pretending to be surprised by it.
Right.
When you mention the stable, Justin, these guys have talent. You're not mentioning, schlubs here.
No.
It's a talented crew. I just don't think they're being used the right way. As far as Bully Ray goes, last night winning the belt, the minute you see Aces and Eight come out to the cage, you know what's happening. I mean, the minute he married Brooke, you knew months ago.
Right.
But anybody that's a wrestling fan, if you marry Hulk Hogan's daughter in the storyline, you know something's coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Something fucked up is about to happen if you're marrying Brooke Hogan in the middle of a TNA ring. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I did think it was very transparent. And then another thing that a lot of people say is like, well, yeah, it was transparent. We all knew it was coming, but it was still well done. And it's like, well, the actual like handing Bully of the ball peen hammer and like the symbolism in it and everything, and then him turning around and attacking Jeff Hardy. Yeah, it wasn't terribly done. I don't think it was the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't terribly done.
I mean, it was a nice thing to see him and Devon reunite, and finally, after so long, it wasn't the worst thing I've seen in wrestling, right. But it definitely isn't in my top 10 of wow moments. I think they were trying real hard to create that NWO moment when Hogan turned.
Oh, absolutely. And then this,
as far as planting, maybe you guys heard about this, planting the bottle throwers.
This pissed me off beyond belief when you posted about it. You posted about it on Facebook, and I was like, really? They did that? And then I went back and researched it. Oh my God, did it ever piss me off?
What was this?
They had this moment after this match, after Bully Ray had won the TNA Championship from Jeff Hardy, which, by the way, we'll talk about Jeff Hardy here in a second. But after he had won the title from Jeff Hardy, people started throwing garbage in the ring.
Right.
And it's just like that moment, like when Hulk Hogan turned and joined the NWO. Like everybody just littered him and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall with a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
After it happened. And they were doing it for weeks after that as well. TNA planted people in the crowd to start throwing garbage in the ring after this happened.
Did they?
Yes. Hoping that mob mentality would take over, and because we're talking about a group of people that paid to attend a TNA pay-per-view live, it worked. So a bunch of the other people started throwing garbage into the ring too, and it's just like, it really just pissed me off.
Yeah, it was almost an insult because you could feel that when Hogan turned, that was real emotion.
Yes.
The Hawkster, many years, the kids had the posters. Mm-hmm. When Hogan turned, people were pissed.
Absolutely.
Bully Ray turning, you're not going to start pelting the ring with bottles.
No.
It happened all at once. It was so contrived. It just, to me, that really ruined the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that point, you were like, oh, God, even this is horrible.
Even this is fucking horseshit, TNA, and this was the main event of one of now only 4 pay-per-views. Aren't they down to only doing 4 pay-per-views a year?
I like that idea, to be honest with you.
I do too. But you're thinking you fucked up 25% of your main events for the year just by doing that. Right. And yeah, I think TNA would have had the talent if they would have positioned a different person. They actually would have, I think, had a person or two on the roster where if they would have been in Bully Ray's position and turned and joined Aces and Eights, then they might have actually gotten that reaction. If that had been AJ Styles, or if that had been Sting,
or Jeff Hardy,
or even Jeff Hardy, arguably those 3 guys have meant more to the company at this point, really, than Bully Ray has. Right, so, I mean, if that would have happened, your actual TNA fan base, who's been there since 2003 or whenever they started, was going to be like, I can't, oh my God. Wow, they really did this. And then that may have actually elicited the actual reaction that they wouldn't have had to pay for. But unfortunately, that's not the way that they ended up going. And yeah, Aces and Eights to me has just kind of really fallen off since November, right around November, just a month out from Christmas, because they started off being quite good, and then now it's down to the point where they come up with new positions for members just totally at random. Taz joins and all of a sudden he's the messenger. D'Lo Brown joins. Oh, he's the vice president. Bully Ray joins. Oh, he's the president. And they still have a quote unquote higher power that they have to reveal. That everyone's working for a higher power behind Aces and Eights. Who thinks this isn't Eric Bischoff?
I think it's Brooke.
Really?
Really?
That would be
I
really
don't know.
interesting.
I like to pretend I'm a creative writer, so that's the only reason I go there.
This whole podcast is us pretending that we're creative writers. So.
Maybe it's John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, oh my God, if it was Laurinaitis, that would be amazing.
People power!
God. Oh, man. That would actually, honestly, that would make me watch TNA more frequently than I do. Just because, again, we go back to the Room syndrome, something that's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, our higher power is Doink. I love it.
But see, he would have to have the dark theme music. So
Right.
the do and then just gets right dark and ominous, and Doink and Dink and Dank and Dunk and Dick and whoever the hell his little mini ones were.
I think nobody cares at this point. They had
Right.
such steam when they started. At this point, unless they pull somebody out of their ass, and I hate to keep using that phrase, but
Well, you know.
I'm hooked on ass tonight. They really got to pull something out for people to get back into it, because people have lost interest in that angle, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of hooked on ass, what if it was Rikishi?
Not bad.
Not bad,
Yeah.
not bad. You know, he come out and be like, "I did it for The Rock." That's the thing that he said when he ran Steve Austin over with the truck.
Let's not act like we've seen the last of Rikishi.
No.
Perhaps we see Rikishi, Brodus Clay, and Tenzai very soon in the ring. Just keep that in mind.
Absolutely. I think that could happen. The three of them come back and squash 3MB at WrestleMania. I'd enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because 3MB is going to get squashed at WrestleMania one way or the other. You might as well
They
bring
get squashed
Rikishi
anywhere,
back.
man.
Exactly. You might as well bring Rikishi back.
The Squash Squad.
The Squash Squad. I like that.
Exactly.
You get the British audience because they think, oh, this is a little bit of sport. But no, it's... but nope.
Bring in
it's-
the vegetarians.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, oh, look, they're eating squash. No, it's three fat guys that definitely eat their share of meat, and they're going to squash these three guys that think they're rock stars.
Who do you think it is? Who do you think the higher power is?
Honestly, I think it's Bischoff. I really, really do, because I don't give TNA creative writing any credit whatsoever.
No. We haven't seen them. We haven't seen Bischoff for a while.
No, he's been out of it for a little while. I think if it's not Bischoff, if I had to give it to one other person besides it being Bischoff, I think I would have to say, I don't know. I had it and I lost it. I'm not even going to lie. I had a name
Really?
and it's gone.
Really?
Yeah, I had it and it's gone.
Really?
You know, I'm going to...
Do you think even they know at this point?
Probably not. I think they're looking at this slate like this. You know, the keyhole thing that you used to do in school for writing an essay.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're looking at a keyhole and they've gotten down to the circular point at the bottom where they're supposed to put the higher power. That spot is blank.
Damn it! Someone get Disco Inferno on the line.
Exactly. DDP's rehabbed Jake the Snake enough that we can bring him back to be the higher power.
Oh god.
Which I'll just take a moment to mention. From all the looks of it, Diamond Dallas Page and DDP Yoga seem to be have completely rebuilt Jake the Snake Roberts and seem to be completely rebuilding Scott Hall. So
it's amazing stuff.
It looks just phenomenal.
Just got an idea. What if Paul Heyman is the higher power?
Heyman could be the first guy to work for both companies at the same time.
I could see him doing that.
It would be really interesting. His dad's a lawyer. Maybe he can make it happen. That would be interesting. I'm not going to lie. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be interesting.
We're giving creative way too much credit here.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we're giving away our great ideas for free. That just can't happen. No wonder none of us have been hired for a creative writing thing yet. Well, fuck, we'll just listen to their podcast. That's all we need to do. What are some of the things about TNA, Tweeter, and we'll just kind of get close to ending on this. What are some of the stuff about TNA that you like? Are there aspects about TNA that you enjoy watching if and when you take the time to partake in their programming?
Not at all.
No? Not a single idea.
I do like the gut check format. That's cool.
Okay.
And I like that they got out of Florida finally and they're taking the show on the road.
Right.
Because to me, it seemed like I was just watching tourists every week in the crowd, taking pictures of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, excuse me.
I'm
I'm glad that they're hitting the road. It shows that Dixie Carter has a set of balls on her and that she's willing to try something different. They're not playing big houses, but they are hitting the road, and I kind of appreciate the ballness factor.
Yes, exactly.
If that's such a word.
Well, it's a word
Carter
now.
has.
Yeah, for sure. And I notice over in England, they draw big crowds in England. And it kind of surprises me that they draw big crowds in England, because I thought English professional wrestling fans preferred good professional wrestling. But they seem to be drawing really big crowds. I don't know if it's because of like Magnus, obviously, is their big sort of British star, and I think he draws a lot in, and he's always featured really prominently when they're over in Britain. But
well, wait a second, Justin. Do you believe TNA doesn't have good wrestlers, or do you think that it's the management? Because I think there's some tremendous talent on that roster. When you look at Rude, Austin Aries, who's the kid that just you mentioned him earlier? Oh my God, I want to say Kennedy, but
Kenny King.
Kenny King.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some tremendous talent on that roster, man. And
absolutely.
If somebody gets in there that knows what they're doing, that company has really potential to become, I think they could rival the WWE if they get the right personnel in there. The talent's there.
No question in my mind. There's definitely good young talent in TNA, and you would need to bring on somebody like, I think you would actually need to bring in a booker. TNA doesn't need to run their corporate structure exactly the way WWE does. You'll never have a booker in WWE ever again, because Vince will never give someone that much power. But you could have a booker in TNA, somebody that controls all the talent, controls what they get paid, controls where they are on the roster, and where they're featured. So I mean, you could do that. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely not a matter of lack of talent. I think it's a matter of lack of direction. Even when you had good minds in there, like you had Terry Taylor was on the creative team, you had Jim Cornette on the creative team. When you had great minds in there for professional wrestling, you also had a Vince Russo who then just shit all over everything, because that's what Vince Russo does. So, I think if you had the right creative people in there, I think it would work.
I agree.
One thing that I did actually really like about TNA, and maybe we'll even end on this, the Bound for Glory series is actually an idea that I really, really like. The Bound for Glory series is obviously it's a kind of a round robin sort of thing. It's a series of matches where the matches mean something. If you win by pinfall, you get 5 points. If you win by submission, you get 3 points, or something like that. And it's a tournament style thing that goes for a couple of months. And it's one thing that I thought, if WWE could have had that idea, it would have been a great thing for WWE to use. But I absolutely love it every year that it comes around for TNA. Tweeter, I don't know, do you enjoy Bound for Glory, or is it a decent idea? Or
I'm not completely familiar with it. The way you describe it, it sounds like a great idea. Again, I like TNA, the balls they have to try new things like that. Mm-hmm. It's new, it's different. And I think that's what's going to give them ultimately the edge over WWE, if they ever get an edge over them.
Right. Is
thinking outside the box. You're not going to beat them on a production scale, on a superstar level. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to think outside the box and come up with creative ideas like that. It sounds to me like a brilliant idea, though. Interesting.
Yeah. We'll get you out of here on this one. If there was one match, and this is getting away from TNA at this point because we've given it altogether too much time. If there was one match, if you were given, let's say you were given the last 2 months or something like that you could build a match for WrestleMania this year, what would you have done? I know it's a big question.
Is that for me?
Yeah, oh yes. Yeah, we'll start with you.
Let's start from Nick. I want to hear from Nick.
Okay.
Let me think on this.
Me?
So again, if you were given 2 months.
2 months.
To build whatever match you wanted for WrestleMania, what would you have done?
Me personally, I would bring back Stone Cold.
Okay, right on.
Anything that he does, put him in a match with, say, like, who would Stone Cold be good with?
I always thought Stone Cold and Punk was like the
Stone Cold
the
and
match.
Punk would definitely be the match.
But I mean, there's a lot of guys on the roster that I think Austin could work a great match with.
Yeah, it's just I want to see Austin back.
Okay. Yeah, I think you might have mentioned that on a couple of episodes before. That having having Austin come back for another short run for like a one more match kind of thing. Absolutely. So you just basically just something with Austin in it. So do you think Punk would be the best opponent for him, or did you have another opponent for him in mind?
Not hopefully, no. I think Punk would actually be a good opponent for Austin. I mean, they seem to fit together perfectly. Punk is I speak my mind, and this is what I do. I just don't go out to the ring and slap a few beers together and whatever. But I mean, they go together so well that they could have good chemistry in the ring. The whole
straight edge thing kind of has your rivalries kind of built into it right there, isn't it? Where Austin's sort of the beer drinking machine. Yeah, fair enough. Right on. I like that, sir. I think that's good.
I would definitely like to see that. I don't know if it would be much of a money-making draw. So, I mean, my answer's kind of like if I had a personal gain, like if the match I'd like to see, if I was trying to make money off it, I'd have a different answer. But
right.
I would put Daniel Bryan and Dean Ambrose together like in an Iron Man match just for the wrestling of it all.
Right. Like not one of the cop-out half-hour Iron Man matches. You're talking about the Bret Hart HBK, the 1 hour.
Yeah, give me the 60-minute Iron Man match.
Wow.
Nice.
I think both guys have a lot to offer, and I've always been disappointed in what they've done with Daniel Bryan, but I think he's got a long career with them, so I think they're eventually going to let him blossom.
Right.
And I think he's going to blow a lot of people's minds when they unleash him.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I think so too. I think I have downloaded on my computer. I have a 2004 Ring of Honor event. I think it's testing the limit or something like that. And it's Daniel Bryan and Bryan Danielson, and I can't remember who his opponent is, but it's a 90-minute match.
Really?
Wow.
90 minutes, one fall to a finish. 90-minute match. And I still haven't taken the time to watch it because I haven't mentally prepared myself for all the awesomeness that is going to happen in that 90-minute one fall to a finish match. But I have it down. Yeah, but it's I'm pretty sure it was 2004 Ring of Honor event testing the limit, and it's apparently supposed to be just one of the greatest matches ever. And I completely agree with you. When they finally unleash Daniel Bryan and let him do his thing, he's gonna make a lot of noise, and he's gonna bring a lot of the professional wrestling fans back to WWE.
Absolutely, something I think it desperately needs right now.
Right, absolutely. IWXshow.com, April 1st.
Hey, that's my website.
It is your website. IWXshow.com, Monday, April the 1st. The Masked Tweeter and Professor Big Daddy debut. The internet is not ready. Tweeter, my friend, you put up with a lot to get on this show this evening.
Too much.
And we greatly appreciate your patience and your insight, and we cannot wait to have you on the show again.
Brother, it's been a pleasure. What you guys do together is just so entertaining. I love listening to it every week. Both shows, No Holds Barred, and this, whatever you call it, Last Man Standing.
There you go.
It's brilliant. You guys are well educated. You're just not a couple of schleps talking wrestling. You know what you're talking about, and I appreciate that. I love it every week.
Perfect. And we will definitely be getting you on for the other show, No Holds Barred, because the Masked Tweeter on No Holds Barred is must-listen podcasting. So
that's uncensored, right?
100%.
Yes.
Well, this is basically uncensored. I dropped a couple F-bombs in there, but
but
No Holds Barred is especially
mind.
uncensored.
No Holds Barred. Like, what about a Boston Crab? Is that barred?
Not at all.
Chicken wing?
Not at all. Not even the one-legged Boston Crab you see in porn, where the girl goes, where there's nothing is barred.
Abdominal stretch?
Not a thing.
Cobra clutch?
Well, no, we can't bar we can't. No, that's Sheiky's is camel clutch. Yeah. I was thinking we've used Iron Sheik sound clips on No Holds Barred so often that we couldn't possibly bar his finisher, but that's the camel clutch.
Sunset flip. I'm not gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going. You're gonna have to cut me off.
Just gonna keep
I know
naming
one of these holds are barred on your show. I'm pretty sure. Sunset flip.
There is not a thing, sir. You could go with barbed wire
Superplex?
chairs. What's that?
Superplex?
There's got to be a limit somewhere.
Drop kick.
Yeah, drop kicks. I can't do a drop kick. Nick could probably do an okay drop kick. I would love to see you do a drop kick.
Flying body press.
I think we're running out of time.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I look forward to speaking to you again.
You too, sir. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for Last Fan Standing episode number 5. I am Justin.
And I am Nick.
And we had the Masked Tweeter on the show this week. Join us again. We're going to probably have one more Last Fan Standing show prior to WrestleMania.
Quite
possibly. Once they basically get the whole show done up. Thank you so much for
guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really. Get your shit together, WWE. It's only the top show of the year. Yeah, nothing major.
No pressure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the Last Fan Standing podcast. For Justin and Nick and the Masked Tweeter, we are deuces for another week.
Peace out.